Hours before the Wolfpack will see the Dirty Foot Club on the hard court, NC State football picked up back-to-back wins on the recruiting trail over the Dirty Foot Club.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Friday to all. Happy GTHC weekend to all. This Friday episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are now here and made better than ever by FanDuel. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Yes, that's right. Win or lose, guaranteed. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. And Kenton, a couple big-time wins for NC State football over the light blue heading into our basketball matchup with them 4 p.m. on Saturday. Alabama transfer linebacker Sterling Dixon, who had visits scheduled to both UNC and NC State, visited NC State on Friday, committed to NC State on Friday. This is a big deal. And I mentioned this on the post-game podcast Wednesday evening. Sterling Dixon, former four-star linebacker, joins us from Alabama. And I think I speak for a lot of Wolfpackers. And when I say, if he was good enough to play for Nick Saban, he is more than good enough to play for Dave Doran here in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a big-time get, and it's just made a little bit sweeter knowing that he went and saw the light blue school first, but decided he wanted to keep on some red.
Honestly, this is one of the times I'm so excited about a thing. I don't give a damn about those Dirty Foot Club dorks. I don't think that people understand the PTSD I have from watching our linebacker play last year. I know, PTSD is a very heavy word. I'm telling you this right now. I watched the Notre Dame and Penn State game, and I saw linebackers filling holes, and I was concerned every time. Like, hey, they're going to make the tackle. Hey, they're going to do it. I had never used to be like that. You know what did make me like that? Watching our linebackers last year. Seeing holes open up in front of guys and seeing them go, I don't really feel like it. So to say that we're adding a linebacker is extremely exciting to me. It's extreme. Yeah. I am so excited about this young man coming here. I am more. And when I say more, I mean more than excited. Sterling, come on down. You cannot be worse. And here's a fun fact. I'm not going to say any names, but Grayson and I talked about this off air, and this is a factual statement. And Grayson, please correct me if I'm wrong. Did you and I not talk about a specific player in our linebacking core from last year during the spring game when I said I legitimately don't know what he's looking at or where he's going? That young man cannot play for us. Like, if I was a coach, I'm telling him, hop in the transfer portal. That young man ended up playing a good amount of snaps. I'm not going to say any names. Don't DM me about this. I will not DM you the player. Grayson, was there not a player who ended up playing significant snaps that fit that description?
Unfortunately, there were two players that fit this description.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But yes, to your point, no, that is all accurate.
So, with that being said, with me looking at a specific player and saying, this young man cannot play, I legitimately don't know where his eyes are. I don't know what his keys are, but like, he is going the wrong way. It is like watching a small child play in Little League. To have that type of situation at linebacker, the bar is low. Please come raise it, young man. The bar is low for what we saw out of our linebackers last year. Please come raise it up. And I'm super excited about you, Mr. Dixon. Couldn't be happier. Could not be happier. The linebacker position was my personal biggest position of need, where I was screaming from the mountaintop, get somebody, bring in somebody. We've got a guy. Love it here.
And to be transparent, picking up a linebacker just because he's from Alabama doesn't mean that all of our problems will be solved, but it's something that you should absolutely be looking forward to. Because again, we're talking SEC 4-star linebacker, NC State has not come across many of those in the last handful of years. So this is a solid pickup for an area of need in this NC State defense. Sterling Dixon was a true freshman for Alabama this year. And to my knowledge, I think he only played in 2 games, very sparingly at that. So there's not a whole lot to gather on what he might or might not be at NC State. But what I will read to you is his evaluation posted on 247 Sports. The national recruiting analyst Cooper Pategna says, quote, quick twitch, explosive player off the edge that flashes good knee bend and hip flexibility bending the corner. Kind of like Jello. I can't get that
swerve in that corner. Whoa, whoa.
I cannot get that song out of my head.
It's a great song. It's a great song.
Sorry about that. Shows the ability to win an initial short area foot and body quickness to the point of attack. More of a speed rusher at this point of his physical development, but flashes some speed to power ability in his pass rush. Will need to continue to refine his technique and play more controlled, but excels as a high motor player. We need some of that. With good play speed and has lateral chase ability. Flashes drop ability as an off-ball backer and has a natural tendency to play in space, unquote. All of those characteristics are something we were desperately missing at the linebacking position this year. Something else I want to bring forward here, I think I also mentioned this on Wednesday night. With now the addition of Sterling Dixon, maybe we shouldn't assume that you can immediately plug him in, but I would feel pretty inclined to say that he's going to play a pretty good amount in 2025. You also picked up Trey Thomas from Temple, who's going to play probably more in a linebacker type spot than he will on the line. So that's 2 spots. Do you slot Sean Brown back into safety now? And I posed this on Wednesday night, but I think this might reaffirm that that's something we could be looking at here. I wouldn't be surprised if Sean Brown does bump back to safety, a spot that he's very familiar with.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised by that, but I think that these 2 guys are more of that. Both of them, I think, fit into that bandit category more so than your traditional off-ball linebacker. I think that both of these guys will be walked down a lot more. And also, let's be very transparent about something. Outside of Davin Vann, we did not have a ton of juice off the edge to where I would feel comfortable saying we don't need any more. And so I think that both Trey and Dixon are adding in that way that, hey, these are going to be 2 guys that are going to be coming off the edge a lot. The Mike linebacker position, I'm still kind of like, hey, what are we doing there? What do we do? Do we have a guy that we feel comfortable saying? Because when you think about a 3-4, one thing that you know about that, your Mike linebackers are going to have to be bigger guys that can take on blocks right away sometimes. Your nose guard would not always be shaded in a way to take up wherever the run scheme is going. So they got to be ready for that. That kind of gives me pause about the current linebackers that we have because we don't have the biggest group. And so from that standpoint, I would assume, hey, it'd be safer to say Sean Brown may slot back a little bit into that safety spot. But also, I mean, he's a hell of a ball player, so I want him on the field somewhere. Right. That's something that I do know. Be a safety, be a linebacker. I want Sean Brown on the field.
Now, and coming into this episode, I mentioned 2 wins on the recruiting trail, so now I'll dive into the other. It's not a player, but a coach. Charlton Warren joins us from the Dirty Foot Club. He was serving as the DB's coach in 2024, and then 2022 to 2023, he was the co-defensive coordinator in Chapel Hill, as well as serving as the DB coach. He's known as an elite recruiter, and he's also been at many other stops, including Indiana, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Nebraska, Air Force for a number of years. This is a really good pickup for NC State's coaching staff and on the recruiting front. Now, the other half of this is Coach FAL is moving on from NC State, and we discussed he received the promotion, a week ago, and now it's been announced that he'll be moving on. I think it's Sam Houston State. He'll be the defensive coordinator there. Kind of some odd timing, and we certainly wish Coach FAL the best as he is a Wolfpacker through and through. But picking up Charlton Warren here from Dirty Foot Club, it certainly feels like a win. His vast amount of experience, both as a co-defensive coordinator, working with the DB room, and then on the recruiting trail, he can do a lot of good in a short amount of time for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. And here's the other thing. When you talk about player development, because that's something that I've criticized the Dirty Foot Club for quite some time.
Right.
I believe that it is equally and maybe even more so on your strength and conditioning staff than your position coach. And I think that that's somewhere where we have a definitive advantage over about 95% of schools in America. So I think that that's going to be something where you can combine very good recruiting with better stuff in that way. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little concerned. Like, all right, what you doing over there? What's the player to, because yes, it is a majority on the weight room, but I'd say it's about 60-40, maybe 70-30 weight room to position coach. And I'll tell you, those boys, players were the exact same player 3-4 years down the line from when they got them. So I got my eye on you. Buddy.
Charlton Warren will slot into the co-defensive coordinator spot at NC State. I still feel like it's the same situation as it was with FAL. I believe DJ Elliott is like the official, unofficial defensive coordinator. Charlton Warren will mainly handle the DBs, but probably will have some input with the DC. Regardless, really good pickup. Both of these guys, both Sterling Dixon and Charlton Warren, excellent pickups for NC State, and keeps that offseason momentum rolling just a little bit more. Addressing the linebacking room is a massive deal at this point of the cycle, and Sterling Dixon feels like it's a great pickup for NC State. Coming up next, we still have more to discuss with the Dirty Foot Club. We're taking them on the hard court, 4 p.m. Saturday in the Lenny. We're going to roll you out some Kenton's keys to get you ready for the game. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is TurboTax. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions. Whether you've got one form or 20, TurboTax experts give your taxes their undivided attention, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters. You won't have to lift a finger, and you'll get peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by pros. Are you ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head on over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert. They're ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day. Only available on the TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates are only available on the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Middle portion of our Friday show. Now time to dive into Kenton's keys. NC State basketball will host the Dirty Foot Club in the Lenny, 4 p.m. on Saturday. This is a massive ACC matchup that we would love to be able to pull in here. But without further ado, let's get into the keys.
So the first key is very simple. You have to take advantage of what is free. Everybody loves to say there's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, guess what? That's true, but there is such a thing as a free throw. That means it's unopposed by the defense. That means nobody's there. That means nobody is paying attention. Just seeing that logo on the screen pisses me off. But anyway, that means that you have to make them at a higher clip. Did you know, fun fact, Grayson, did you know that not one time this season have we shot in 75% or better in any of our losses?
That sounds about right.
Not once. How many games does that flip if we do shoot 75% or better? I know for a fact it flips the Texas game. I believe it also flips the Virginia game as well if we get over 75%. Make the damn free throws. Make the free ones. Make the easy ones. That's the first one. Shoot 75% or better from the free throw line.
This one is especially interesting. I saw a good tweet from Mark Packer of ACC Network. He noted that in ACC games so far this season, NC State is number 1 in least amount of fouls committed. UNC is 18th. That's dead last in the entire conference. Now, you would think, by the way that some of these games have played out over the last couple of years, that this would be the inverse. Because I think we all still have PTSD from that one trip to Chapel Hill where Carolina shot like 38 free throws or something preposterous like that to our, I think we shot like 11, something ridiculous. So we still have that in the back of our mind. But for that to be true, for NC State to commit the least amount of fouls and for Carolina to commit the most, that means you have to cash the free ones. You have to take advantage of this if they are going to put you on the foul line repetitively. And we've talked ad nauseum about how poor our free throw shooting has been this year. And Kenton just told you it would have flipped at least 2 of our outcomes so far this year. You cannot afford for this game to fall into that category. If they put you on the line, you have got to take advantage of it. Doesn't matter if it's in the first half or the second half, garbage time, whatever. You have to be able to take advantage of any mistake that Carolina gives you. We are not good enough of a team to squander opportunity after opportunity. You get the picture I'm painting here. Take advantage of what they give you because it might just be the difference in the entire game. Number 2.
You have to make RJ Davis be a volume scorer. Here's the deal. RJ's going to take his shots. RJ, for whatever reason, he's turning into Caleb Love Jr. over there, just throwing up whatever. I love it for you, RJ. Keep it up. We're all proud of you.
It's because J.J. Kelly moved town anyway.
Oh, boy. That's nasty, nasty business there. But, I am very serious about this. RJ Davis is suffering from some career lows in terms of his efficiency. He is suffering from some of the lowest and worst shooting percentages he's had at virtually any point in time in his career. He's got the lowest field goal percentage since his freshman year. He's got the lowest three-point percentage he's ever shot. He's not playing the game in a way that you're like, oh, man, this guy, and speaking of free throws, he's shooting the lowest free throw percentage that he shot since his freshman year. So he is being wildly inefficient. Let him be wildly inefficient. Let him take those shots. But keep a defender near him. Do not foul him. Do not make it easy on him. Do not put him on the line. Do you know why you shouldn't foul him and be all extra with all that? From the field, he's shooting 38.6%. From 3, Grayson, get ready to pull the Febreze out, 28%. From the free throw line, he's shooting 85.7%. So if you put him on the line, he is twice as likely to make that shot as he is anywhere else on the court. And that's not even including the threes that he shoots, which he is 3 times as likely to make a free throw as he is to make a three-pointer. Make him be inefficient, but do not foul him. I would like to see him held under 35% from the field and under 30% from 3. If you can do those 2 things, he's going to take the shots. I guarantee you he's going to take the shots. Let him miss them. Let him miss those shots. Force him to be a volume scorer.
Yeah, you beat me to some of the numbers here. RJ Davis shooting 28% from 3 is shocking because it felt like countless times seeing them in these last couple of years, he'll shoot it like in the 40% range. For him to have that big of a drop-off is shocking in his final year of eligibility. But that being said, to Kenton's point here, you have to force him into making the difficult shot. He is not the type of player, as we've seen throughout the entirety of his college career, that he's not going to shy away. Even if he's not connecting early in the game, it will not stop him from forcing them when the game gets late. We should welcome that with open arms, but on the other note, you can't allow him to have the easy ones. If he is going to bomb a little bit early and it forces other options to have to pick up the slack, that would be a massive win for NC State. You want Elliot Cadeau to have to knock down shot after shot. You want a freshman, Ian Jackson, who has been very good this year. You want a freshman to have to pull them out of the mud for Carolina to beat us in this game. I know Seth Trimble is coming off of injury. He did play the other night against SMU, but didn't do much of anything. Finished with 0 points, limited minutes. I don't quite know what we'll see out of him in this game. If he's not at 100%, that would also be a small win for NC State. But regardless, you have to make RJ Davis beat you by being like superhuman. Don't allow easy ones in the lane. Don't allow him to just be wide open on the perimeter. That has been a bit of a question mark of recent. Couple instances of late where their best three-point shooter has been left wide open. Do not allow that to happen in this one. He might be shooting 28%, but if you give him the open ones, he's going to knock them down. But you have to force RJ into being a bad version of RJ Davis, which honestly has been the majority of this year so far. So make other guys be the hero, but don't allow RJ to be the hero on an easy note. And the third and final key here,
I need for our front court to combine for at least 25 points and 15 rebounds. Here's the thing. The Dirty Foot Club's front court is soft as wet tissue. And I'm not talking about the 3-ply Charmin. I'm talking about that stuff that you got at work. You know, that single ply that like it rips if you sneeze too hard at it. They're softer than that when wet. I am telling you right now, you have to. If you are Ben Middlebrooks, if you are Huntley Hatfield, you have to come out physical. You have to come out aggressive. You have to play this game like it is a rivalry. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Armando Bacot is finally playing overseas wherever. He's gone. He's gone now. Win this front court battle, and don't just win it, dominate it. Don't just say, hey, it's good enough to be good against this Carolina front court. No. You have to make it so bad that Hubert is ready to go call up guys in the portal right now. Hubert is ready to go do some tampering after this game because Lord knows they ain't unfamiliar with breaks the rules. Also, it's ironic. Isn't it a little strange that once everybody can pay their players, all of a sudden UNC stinks? Interesting. But that's neither here nor there. The reality is the front court needs to lead. In the words of Coach Touche, big men lead, and big men need to lead in this one.
This is my biggest key to the Notre Dame game the other night is that our front court had to show up and be effective. It is even more important in this game here. Kenton already told you the UNC front court is not anything close to what we've come to expect out of a UNC front court. Bacot is gone. Kennedy Meeks is not walking through this door. Jalen Washington, Vin Allen Lubin, and Jalen Withers are all they got at the front court, and they have been extremely underwhelming. It seems like every time I've seen Carolina lose so far this season, all of the moaning and groaning circles back around the fact that they did not go out and find an effective center out of the portal. So that means for NC State, you got to hit them where it hurts. Ben Middlebrooks, Brandon Huntley-Hatfield, and if we get any semblance of an Ishmael Diouf in this game, you have got to dominate the paint, dominate the glass, be effective down low and scoring, and you can't afford to miss any bunnies. If NC State does get 25 and 15 combined out of their front court, I think you have an excellent chance to win this game. I mean, your guard play is going to have to do something as well, but UNC's team is extremely guard-oriented, probably even more so than ours. If they don't get anything from their guard play, they will not win because they have nothing in the front court. So for NC State, take advantage of that. Be a force down low. Be a force in the front court from the opening whistle all day long. Establish dominance, and especially in your house. Do not allow them to come in and play bully ball when they haven't been able to play bully ball all season long. So for NC State's front court, you got to show up and stand on business in a game like this one because this is a real instance where it will make a difference. 4 p.m. Saturday in the Lenny, NC State takes on the Dirty Foot Club. UNC enters with a 10-6 record. NC State is 9-6. This one very well could end up pivotal in the ACC standings down the stretch. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Friday show, getting into Fan Friday. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Friday sponsor is FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are now here and better than ever with FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Yes, that's right, $200 back in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need to place live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to join today, and you'll get started with $200 back in bonus bets, win or lose. That's FanDuel.com in order to get started. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Last couple minutes of our Friday show. Now time for Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. Here we go. First one comes from Albert Bennett. They say, I'm not sure how this defense will pan out. I'm concerned about what our offense will look like under Roper. Kenton, how do you think it'll look under Roper? Much different than an eye or entirely different?
I'm conflicted here because on one hand, I'm looking up and saying, you know, in terms of the scheme and in the system, I too am a little bit worried in terms of how creative do we get? How well do we scheme guys in a position to exceed? But on the other hand, this is the most loaded offense that we will have seen in quite some time. And the unfortunate part about that is I feel like we say this every year about at least one side of the ball. Like, oh, this is the most loaded we've been. This is the best we've been. So in terms of the schematics under Roper, I don't think that it'll be what we saw from Anai. I think it'll be a lot more vanilla, but with more nuances, with better utilization of our stars under Roper. I don't think it'll be as many trick plays and as many, wonky formations. But again, I'm okay with that if it means we're going to line up, we're going to, do our stuff and and kind of run our best stuff to our best guys. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, to tell the truth here, I'm really not expecting like a vast difference going from Anai to Roper. But to Kenton's point there, I'm just looking for an offense that utilizes the best players at the most important times of the game. I'm looking for an offense that doesn't take out Hollywood Smothers for an entire quarter when he had dominated in the first half. I'm looking for an offense that will target Justin Jolie more than 3 times a game when he's one of the best athletes on the entire field. That's all I'm really looking for here. And of course, as it does with any offense ever, it's all going to start up front with a rebuilt offensive line. I think that will be my biggest concern about how the offense will run. But again, you're bringing back CJ, you're bringing back Hollywood, you're bringing back your entire receiving core outside of KC Concepcion. You should feel really good about that, regardless of who's calling the plays. All we're asking for is a more competent version of the offense that we were expecting last year. No trick plays, no quarterback draws on 3rd and 9 when it doesn't make any sense at all. Just take out what doesn't work, keep in what does work. That's all we should be focused on moving forward. Next one here comes from 777 Pidyon. All right, sorry. It says, could y'all possibly have an episode where you specifically talk recruits and what next year could look like? You could wait until after the portal is fully closed, but I'm interested in who y'all believe could come in and make an impact right away. Do you see the possibility of a 2 QB system so we can utilize Will Wilson's legs and keep CJ in the pocket more? Or are you worried that would hurt CJ's progression? I would love to hear y'all's opinion on Lex staying instead of going to a smaller program. Also, just general predictions for next year and y'all's overall excitement. Okay, so a couple of different questions in here. I'll break it all down. Yes, we will do an episode later on after the portal is closed. As we all know right now, everything is very fluid. Although the portal is technically closed, we don't have to worry about anyone leaving per se. You're also going to have the spring portal open up. You could lose additional guys there, and we're still actively recruiting guys to come here through the portal. So yes, we will do that. However, probably not anytime in the immediate future, but yes, it will be coming down the pike. Getting into the actual questions here. Do you see the possibility of a 2 QB system so we can utilize Will Wilson's legs and keep CJ in the pocket more? What do you think, Kenton? Yes or no?
I think that's a terrible idea. I think that's a super terrible idea. I think CJ Bailey's legs are better than people give him credit for. But more importantly than that, if you can, why not save Will Wilson? Redshirt him, have Lex be your backup. Let CJ kind of play this thing out and see what happens there. And you get a full year to make things happen in terms of doing all that you can with CJ. You get another year, potentially, if he turns into a monster, it's like, hey, he's going to the NFL now. Boom, you've got Will Wilson slotted in with 3 years eligibility left. Or even if CJ plays it out in terms of his eligibility, even after next year, you only have 2 years of him left. If you time that out and say you redshirt Will Wilson next year, and then the year after that, redshirt freshman year, that's it. He still has 3 years of eligibility left himself in terms of what would be done there, as opposed to playing both. I know I may be in a minority here. From what I've seen of this young man, I think Lex Thomas is better than everybody gives him credit for. Hey, it's not just the Thomas name. The film don't lie. Now, will I say, hey, he's an amazing quarterback that has superpower X, Y, and Z that makes you a better offense because he's there? I'm not going to say that, but I will say he hits guys on time. He hits guys on target. If I can get that out of my backup, and he adds a little bit of mobility because his legs are a factor. If I'm looking at him and saying that's a backup quarterback, I'm okay with that. I'm not super in distress, like, oh, we got to get another backup quarterback. We need to pay somebody outside of Lex. I'm okay with Lex.
I will work backwards here, and I feel like I always have to put out a disclaimer anytime I discuss the Thomas brother or Lex specifically. I love Lex Thomas. I love the Thomas family. They're always going to be beloved what Drake and Thayer did. I don't want to see Lex play quarterback at NC State.
I'm telling you, those Thomas brothers, when you doubt them, that's when they're at their best. I
always have to put out, please don't shoot me. I have no ill will to the Thomas family. I love that Lex is here. Although I think we are much better served with CJ and Will Wilson here in the future, having Lex on the roster and even him throwing a touchdown at Clemson, which was an awesome moment, it means something. That Thomas lineage and everything that they have poured into the NC State football program, it means something. And so I think his dedication to the program and wanting to be here despite not getting, QB1 snaps, there's a lot of respect that goes into that. It's kind of like a Breon Pass situation on the basketball side of things. That loyalty to a program is going to be increasingly rare each and every year moving forward. I think there's a lot to be appreciated there because Lex could certainly go somewhere else and probably play a lot more, but he wants to be here. Raleigh is home, and we certainly love that he is here with us. Now, in regards to CJ and Will Wilson, I agree with you, Kenton. I don't think that's a good idea because what we saw from CJ this year, I don't want to see him in a gimmicky offense. I don't want to have to see a 2-quarterback system where you get in the red zone, you take him out, or you're implementing different packages. None of that. I just want to see CJ in an offense where he is the guy. He's building that chemistry with the wide receivers. I actually anticipate that CJ will throw it even more in 2025 than he did in 2024. Let that cook. I want to stick that in the oven and see what we get when it comes out. None of the gimmicky stuff. I'm hoping that all of that kind of leaves with an eye. Utilize CJ to the best of his abilities this year, and then Will Wilson's time will certainly come here in the near future. But CJ is the guy, and whoever is QB2, whether it is Lex or Will, that is what it is at this point. On the basketball side, this last one comes from Jay Clemens. He says, still believe the press needs to be dialed back. Also, people focus on the DJs and Mo as being the difference in last year's run, but the true difference was O'Connell playing like prime engine Atzor. Tournament O'Connell was the key, and if he's going to be a liability, we'll be like we were last year prior to DC. So, yes, this was a bit of what I was talking about post-game on Wednesday evening. Michael O'Connell, we all love him, and we'll never forget the shot, but he has not quite been what we need him to be here in this season. Like, truly running the show, because last year it was in conjunction with DJ Horn, but now he's got to be the guy. He has to be the main point guard. He's got to be the quarterback on the floor. And he's struggled a bit both with turnovers and playing defense, providing anything offensively. And I think we all have a little bit of a warped perception of MOC. I mean, when you become a folk hero, it's easy for that to happen. But I do still think that the best version of NC State is with O'Connell on the floor. We just need him to be a lot more efficient. Because last year, even despite the struggles, the offense usually flowed a lot better with O'Connell on the floor. And that included having DJ Horn on it. But Michael O'Connell, I think there's almost like too much pressure on him to be the guy this year that he's kind of tail spinning the wrong way. I love Michael O'Connell. I think there's still a lot on the table for him to bring to this team this year, but we need him to be a lot more effective and efficient.
Can we give Jay Clemens a quick shout out for that deep cut? Engine Atzor is a deep NC State.
That's a great pull.
That's a damn good pull. That's some ball. Jay Clemens, nowhere ball. But now, moving on from there, I see it like this. I do agree that Michael O'Connell was the key, and I actually agree 1,000%. I'm gonna disagree with Grayson here. And this is the most me and Grayson have ever disagreed in one episode. The fact of the matter is, O'Connell's ability to score was the catalyst, because people forget before the NCAA run was the ACC tournament run. When the ACC tournament run started, what was going on with DJ Horn? He was hurt. He was out. It took all of the guys stepping up and stepping in, and O'Connell's scoring ability was a very legitimate threat. I believe he either led or was tied for leading score in terms of NC State scoring in one or two of those tournament games. So his ability to be more efficient offensively is vitally important. And his ability to kind of have that confidence back, that swagger back, it's important. It's important. And now I'm going to get back in Grace's good graces, because I only got 2 per episode before Grayson gets up and walks out, especially after me not being here for that last live. I know how folks work. Don't shoot me. I'm sorry. But with that in mind, I do agree that it feels like he's putting too much pressure on himself, because last year, the expectations were nothing. Like when they trailed at halftime to Louisville, I remember receiving and sending or really having a conversation about, well, this is how the Keats era ends. This is how it ends. And to see that they turned it around at half and did what they did, it was a great time. So I look at this and I say, the pressure is different now. People expect things of you now in MOC, but it's okay, brother. You were born for this. It's just ball. It's just what you've been doing all your life. You're a special, unique talent, and go ahead and keep being that. But again, shout out to Jay Clemens, Nowhere Ball, for this question.
I was curious, so I went back and looked. That 5-game winning streak in the ACC tournament last year, O'Connell had 16 against Louisville, 16 against Syracuse, 12 against Duke, 12 against UVA, and he had 10 in the championship against Carolina. Double-digit performances in all 5 of those games. We know he has it in it.
He was moving crazy in that ACC tournament.
So I say all that to say, we know he has it in him. We know that he can be a more consistent scorer. I just think he's in a little bit of a funk right now. So I think he'll continue to work through it. I think having Breon Pass on the floor might even help with that. It takes a little bit of the heat off of MOC, and maybe he can find a groove that way, kind of like how we did last year with Horn. So I don't know. I'm certainly not selling any Michael O'Connell stock. I don't think anyone around Raleigh will be doing that either, but he certainly needs to play a little bit better basketball to unlock a little bit more success for this team this season. That'll do it for us here this week and on Friday. Thank you all so much for joining us. We are going to do a post-game live on Saturday following the basketball game at the Dirty Foot Club, hopefully celebrating another win over those guys. Thank you all so much for joining us here. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us your thoughts on NC State football picking up Alabama linebacker Sterling Dixon. Big win out of the transfer portal. And also picking up Charlton Warren from the UNC coaching staff. Any other thoughts you have on your mind, drop that in the comment box as well. Mash that subscribe button, and we'll see you post-game on Saturday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.